it's my duty to moderate and run this meeting. Just bear with me. I'll do the best I can. All right. We have a quorum of 9, I think. And so I think I have to start by reading the general announcement. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the state of emergency, on March 12, 2020, Governor Baker issued an executive order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Pursuant to the order, public bodies are temporarily relieved from an open meeting law's requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as the measures can be taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberation through adequate alternate means. Citizens with a question or comment can email mmortality@walpole.k12.mass.us or middleschoolproject@walpole.k12.mass.us. All right. I think that takes care of that formality. The next thing is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Any comments, questions, additions?
I'd move to approve the minutes, Jack.
Okay. Nancy, you're moving to approve. Can I have a second?
Second.
Who was that, please?
Boris.
Boris, thank you. All right, I'll take the vote. Hopefully I don't miss anybody. Mike Fresha,
Yes.
Ben Barrett,
Yes.
Gene Kenny,
Yes.
Nancy Gallivan,
Yes.
Jack Conroy. Jack Conroy. Ed Connor.
Yes.
Boris,
Yes.
I vote a yes. And Jackie, you on? All right.
And
It is-
Bridget Goff, yes.
I'm sorry, Bridget.
That's okay. Thanks.
Did I miss anybody else? Okay. Apologies for missing that, and I'll try not to do it again. All right, so we have a favorable vote on that. And at this point, I think we'll turn it over to Kate for project status and the other items on the agenda.
So we'll start with going through the progress status update, and I'm actually going to pass it to Joel to go through some updates since the last building committee meeting.
All right, thanks, Kate. So what you got in front of you is our most recent drone photography, I guess, of the site. So you can see very clearly now the building footprint laid out there. So what we're looking at is the foundation walls, and within the foundation walls, the interior pier footings of the gray squares. And everything is perfectly lined up, ready to accommodate the steel when it arrives. And we're just about done with foundations now, wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. It'll be just in time for steel to start showing up. The work that's going on in the building footprint right now is limited to kind of backfilling up against the foundations. So we put new material back in and compact it. You can see here, we're started on the underground plumbing. So the kind of deeper plumbing pipes, the rain leaders to carry out stormwater, and the plumbing sanitary piping that'll be exiting the building. All that stuff that's a little bit deeper is going in now, and that'll be kind of backfilled and ready for the steel guy when he gets there. The picture on the right there is D building. That's the last space that we did the foundations in. So you can see we're kind of, this photo is taken from inside the building footprint, and you're looking at the interior face of the foundation wall where we're installing rigid insulation. And that's D building. So that's good. What else you got there, Kate? All right. So the picture on the left shows some of the foundation work going on inside. Picture on the right is in C building, where the auditorium is going to end up being. It's one of the last walls that will pour, foundation wall. So you can see kind of the high rebar cage there for that foundation wall. That's part of the auditorium. And I think we have one picture of the water line. So,
Did my screen change?
there we go. Yeah.
Just a little bit of delay.
All right. So last picture is just kind of an overhead view of the area where the new water line and sewer lines for the new building have been installed. It's kind of skirting along the baseball field there in foul territory. So those lines are in, and that water line is actually progressing towards Washington Street at this point, up the other drive. And actually, so there's obviously snow in the picture here. Since it's warmed up a little bit this week, we're actually restoring the grass this week. So we'll be ready in time for foul territory for baseball games in the summer. Big picture for upcoming, steel is the next major activity, and our scheduled steel start date. So when the first trucks full of steel are going to start showing up and they're going to start standing up columns, is right now April 10th. We actually we're doing a little bit better in the fabrication schedule at the steel plant, and the erector might be available a week earlier. So there's a chance we could start the week of April 3rd right now, but April 10th is the target date, and you might see some steel showing up out there the week before that, though. So that's kind of high level where we're at with construction, and things are going very smooth still, and right along on target.
Any questions on the construction update?
I had a
Yeah.
quick question, Kate.
Go ahead. I have two also.
All right. Well, hey, this is Ben. Joel, not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but do you have any update or information on the long lead item that we had talked about a couple months ago, the switchgear? Have you heard from those folks at all, or have any update there?
So Ben. So there's been no change in the switchgear ship date that we got, and that's fairly standard. So we've been doing a kind of a 2-week check-in with the manufacturer, and everything has been green light. You're in the same place you have been, and we still have that December 2023 ship date that we were locked in with. I'd say across the market, like on other projects, those lead times are increasing. So if you were to buy it now, it might be taking you 3 or 4 more weeks than when we locked in. So I feel pretty good that we got in when we did, but we'll continue to monitor it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I think I broke up a little bit there, actually, but did you say every 2 weeks you're checking in with them?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Jack, I have two small questions, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
One is, are we keeping in regular touch with the neighbors, and are there any issues going on there? And then the other one is, I heard something about the foul territory area of the baseball field having some potential problems. Were we able to resolve that? I think it
So
was
in terms of the
days.
neighbors,
Yeah.
I email them on a weekly basis with an update on what's going on site, the impact to them, if there's, trucks where we're working. And I've had open communication with the neighbors. We've had a few emails going back and forth, but I think we've settled it currently. I think there was a question more recently about the generator location, but I think that we're in a good place currently with the neighbors. I know that this neighbor specifically had reached out to the town with some questions. So
just to follow up on that, Kate, there is one neighbor who specifically has a problem where the generator is located. The building commissioners provided him with a whole series of detailed responses. he was satisfied. He understood the responses. Was not satisfied. He's taken it up to the DEP. He's more concerned about the fumes from the generator. But at this time, we're proceeding forward with it. It doesn't violate any building codes. And we're going forward, and he's going with his route. Kate, safe to say?
Yep, I believe so.
And as far as the foul territory, we had a meeting out there with Bridget, Mike, Ron Dowd, Parks and DPW, the school principal. There was it was about a month and a half ago, they had to do some digging for some pipes in there. I believe it's going to be resolved before the baseball season's underway. Bridget, I know you were on site too. Do you want to add anything? Mute, Bridget. You're on mute.
Sorry. No, I think Mike was on site. Were you on site, Mike?
I wasn't on site, but the last update I had gotten was that the sod was delivered, and I think it was going to be installed the other day. So I believe it's in place, but I think, Kate, you could probably confirm you are on site.
Yeah, the sod has been delivered. The install started. They're not completely done yet, but it's in the process of being installed. It pretty much will run right where the snow line is here. And then there's temp fence panels that are going to be added right at the edge of the retention area. So there isn't any issue with where we have the retention area. We're beyond 25 feet from the right foul ball line. And there's plenty of clearance here. And we all agreed on site that we're looking at a fence in the permanent condition, but until we're able to get the permanent condition, we're putting temp fence panels up right along the edge of the retention basin that turns and meets the existing fence in front of the bullpen.
Thank you.
Anything else?
All right, I'll touch base on meetings that have been going on site since our last building committee meeting. We like to just tell the committee what we've been up to. So meetings held we are having a weekly MEP FP coordination meeting with Fontaine, the subs, TAPE, Vertex, and the engineers. Our weekly owner architect contractor meetings are ongoing. We've had multiple de-scope meetings with Fontaine, TAPE, and ourselves that go through the scope of work within each of these subcontractors. And then we have had a project team meeting with the town to review the Washington Street water tie-in logistics. So that's the water line that Joel mentioned. They're working their way up the Washington Street entrance for the school, and they're going to be tying in over April break to the water main in Washington. And then we continue to have weekly internal hot list meeting calls between TAPE, Vertex, and Fontaine. And then in terms of construction administration with the engineers, Weston Sampson's been out on a regular basis, and Niche has also been out, and PSI is out multiple times a week for concrete inspections, rebar, and action. We wanted to circle back on where we landed with the GMP since the last meeting. So just to remind everybody that at the February 14th building committee meeting, the committee approved a not to exceed number of $92,981,450 for the draft GMP. And we're happy to report now the final GMP number has come in at $92,568,764. So it has come down about $412,000 from where we were at the not to exceed number mid-February. That being said, that is very good. We're under the original construction budget that was in the PFA the PFA project funding agreement with the MSBA from December 2021. So we're actually $31,000 under that number, which is really, really good. And I just wanted to note the GMP does not include in our numbers here the pre-con services with Fontaine, which were $144,000. So this number at the bottom, the $92,712,000, is their full contract value, which you'll see reflected in their rec. So that is great news. Any questions or in the GMP?
Kate, I have a question. Go
I have
ahead,
a
Ben.
quick question after that. Oh, thanks, Jack. Sorry. Just in the previous slide, Kate, the meetings that you were talking about, and you referenced like the hot list meetings that y'all are going through. The topics that you cover in those, are those captured in the OAC meeting minutes as well, or is that something that's kept separately?
Yep, it's just following up midweek on our OAC follow-up items. So it's just checking with our
Okay.
internal team to make sure we have movement on everything that's open.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Kate,
Was
my
there another
question,
question?
yeah, my question is this. We got a final GMP of the 92,568,764. I understand that, but I see three different numbers here that of under budget, the 31,412,686, and then above that, 632,000. What is the true number between what we have total available funding versus the final GMP? Is it the 31,000, the 412, or the 632?
So the final GMP is the 92,568,764.
So I think Jack's question was and I like to hang my hat on this and brag about it. So Kate, what I would look at is we're under budget by 632,052. Is that a correct assumption versus what we estimated a long time back?
Yes, that was based on the 90% estimate. So when we had the 90% estimate, the construction budget that we held in our submission to the MSBA was the 93,200,000 here. So yes, that is a correct statement that where we
Does
were.
that
in
answer
the
your
90%
question, Jack?
Kind of. All right. So our total, the last submitted number that we had to the MSPA was the 93,200,000.
Correct. At the 90% submission.
Okay.
Yes.
Jimmy, what do we have actually available through funding? The 93,200,000?
Well, the total amount appropriated was 115 for this.
Okay.
But that you got to factor in Compass or Vertex's OPM fee, the design fee by TAP A. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. So, Jack, are you looking for a bottom line? What do we have left over?
Yeah,
to
pretty
take
much.
Everything into consideration.
It looks
Okay.
like looks like based upon our original estimate for getting the funding, it was 93,200,000 as estimated for construction, and we're 600,000 and change less than that. I think that's the key thing right now. We're not talking about the remaining work that has to get done up to the 115. So
Correct. Just
Yep.
the construction line item number.
all right.
Great. So in terms of proposal requests that have come through since the last meeting, this is our standard PCO log. Some of you are probably familiar with this. Just to go through the colors, the orange is approved change orders to date. The yellow is PCOs under review, and the green is ready to be voted by the building committee. White is open PCOs that were not received yet, but we wanted to put a placeholder in our log. So the change order number 1 that was previously approved for the credit for Quigley was actually rolled up into the GMP. So right now we have no change orders to date now that we've established a GMP. But we did want to touch base today on the entrance canopy expansion. So we have talked with Fontaine and TAP A, and we have concrete ongoing on site, and steel is coming shortly. So Fontaine has flagged this entry canopy expansion as something that's important to get passed through sooner than later so they can move on it. So we would be asking for a not to exceed amount of $228,740 for the entrance canopy expansion. This adds 2 additional entrance canopy bays that were previously in the 60% BE. Joel, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, I think that's a good summary.
Okay, great. So in terms of proposal requests that have come through since the last meeting, this is our standard PCO log. Some of you are probably familiar with this. Just to go through the colors, the orange is approved change orders to date. The yellow is
I want to add that, so it's all fixed pricing in there, with the exception of there's like a translucent panel roof assembly, so the actual roof of the canopy. And as you know, we're kind of buying out subcontractors right now. The subcontractor that'll perform those translucent panels has not been hired yet. So there's a chance that number could come down. So the number we have in there right now is from our window contractor, who's already on board with the project and does do that work. But we will continue to competitively bid that roof panel assembly. So the number that's in there could well be the final number, but it could come down if we did realize some savings with that roof assembly. And that's why we would call it a not to exceed, because that's the highest that number could be. But we might have some savings there if we go with somebody else on the translucent panels.
So Kate, what you're looking for is a motion and a second to move forward with this proposed plan for that overhang, right?
Correct.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve. This is what, change order 2?
Yep.
I make a motion to approve change order 2, Bridget.
Second. Nancy?
Any more discussion? All right, I'll try the vote. Mike Fisher,
Yes.
Ben Barrett,
Yes.
Gene Kenny,
Yes.
Nancy Galvin,
Yes.
Bridget Gow,
Yes.
Jack Conroy. Jack Conroy,
He emailed that his computer crashed and it's not working anymore, so I don't think he'll be back on.
okay. Ed Connor,
Yes.
Boris,
Yes.
and I vote a yes. It is a vote.
Great, thank you. We'll get moving on that. And just to provide a summary, I know this has come up on previous meetings. So we have processed budget revision request number 6, which moved $120,000 up to utility company fees after the Eversource vote. So looking at what we have left in owner's contingency, so that moved up to utility from owner's project contingency. So currently we have 1.86% remaining in the owner's contingency. And like we've previously said in meetings, it's standard to go into construction with a 1% owner's contingency. And we started off with a 2%. So we have a very healthy contingency. So the vendor invoice package, the standard invoices, Vertex, Tape, and Fontaine, that total $2,468,075. Just to flip through real quick. So the Vertex invoice includes in our invoices for our subs for PSI, which is our testing agency, and Foley and Buell, which did the third-party fire department review. Tape's invoice, Fontaine's rec for $2,196,631. And this is just their schedule of values breakout in their rec that you can see totals in $92,712, showing their CM fee up here for $144. So we'd be looking to a vote to approve the February vendor invoice package. Any questions?
I would make a motion to approve the February 2023 vendor invoice package.
Second.
Sorry, I was on mute. My apologies. Okay,
You're doing fine, Jack.
all right. I'm trying. Okay. All right. Mike Fisher.
Yes.
Okay. Ben Barrett.
Yes.
Gene Kenny.
Yeah.
Nancy Galvin.
Yes.
Bridget Goff.
Yes.
Jack Conroy's not in. Ed Connor.
Yes.
Boris Senek.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. We have a vote.
Great, thank you. And then just also in the VIP, there's a summary of the overall budget, which this first column here is the PFA budget from the MSBA that ties out to the 115 million. And then just this is what I talked about before. We've been processing budget revision request number 6. So the money has been moved up, and you'll notice that the Eversource invoice that was approved in the February 28th meeting was not in that initial summary, but that will be reflected in the March update with our office. Reimbursement, we're doing well. We can submit one. Yep.
Just one quick question. If you go back.
Yep.
This budget request, this budget transfer, this is the first one that's really come out of owner's contingency, right?
It is the second. The first one was for the builder's risk insurance for about $7,000, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's only been 2 small ones so far then. Okay. Thank you.
In terms of reimbursements from the MSBA, we're able to upload 1 pro pay submission a month. So I know that our office is working on the monthly submission, but we continue to receive the full reimbursement of the 52%. So we're up to date. And then in terms of MSBA communications to and from, so we had our construction kickoff meeting with the MSBA on March 8th. There were members from the town and district who attended, in addition to us, Fontaine and Tappe. We have submitted the MSBA PFA bid amendment request form to the MSBA on March 17th. So this is just a breakdown of Fontaine's schedule of values. So that will get rolled into the project funding agreement amendment that'll get drafted by the MSBA and then sent to us for review, just to show where the chips fell once we went out to bid. And it's a pretty straightforward item, and all the budget revision requests get rolled up into that. And then we are going to have a monthly MSBA site meeting, probably starting in late summer.
Kate, those monthly meetings, are those very formal or kind of informal, get together and just walk around? Is it something that takes a lot of time? I guess that's really what I'm asking.
They typically take about a half an hour, to 40 minutes. Typically, the MSBA sits with us for about 15 minutes. They have a standard checklist of questions they go through, and then we walk the site with them. Since COVID, they've been mainly remote, so I wouldn't be surprised if we have some remote check-ins. I'll send them some pictures ahead of time, and then the project manager from the MSBA will sit down and they go through where we are with change orders, amendments to date, RFIs, manpower on site. They just like to stay updated. And then we submit our change orders that have been approved by the building committee on a quarterly basis to the MSBA for review. So it's something else they check in with us, but they're pretty informal. The same questions happen every single meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then just a list of dates for our building committee meetings for the rest of the year. And our next meeting is scheduled for April 25th at 6:30.
I understand there may have been some discussion about this because this is April vacation week.
The week prior is April vacation week.
Okay.
This is the week after.
All right. So the folks that are on this call, are we all good with this April 25th meeting?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Kate, the
Yeah,
only thing
all
is,
8 of us.
Kate, we have a select board meeting that night, but we obviously just will need to be mindful of Ben and I popping off. So if it's anything important, could we get to it at the beginning?
Yep, understood.
Okay, anything else at all?
Don't think so.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Going through the list again. Mike,
Yes.
Ben Barrett,
Yes.
Gene Kenny,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Ed Connor,
Yes.
Horace Cynic,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So we have a vote. Okay. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. And I guess we'll see you in a month.